Welcome, everyone, to the Patriots pod. We're going to get episode 2 started here. We're going to do a little Bills-Patriots preview, even though this game is all but meaningless at this point. Gerard Mayo and co. seem to think otherwise, as we have him saying, as well as Alex Van Pelt saying, that Drake is going to be playing in this game. He's going to be starting, and the intent is to play him. Yikes. If you're a Pats fan who's hoping for Travis Hunter and hoping to lose this game and hoping to have that first overall pick to hopefully trade, not the best news for you. And I am one of those people. This team and this season, it's about gathering assets towards a rebuild. We've seen Drake May as one of those things. Your draft pick next year is also one of those things. So why not make it the best it could be? And in my opinion, for Elliott Wolf to do the best job that he can this offseason with free agency and the draft, he needs a loss today. And here's the interesting thing, where a lot of tankers find their contrast in the argument between let's tank and let's play to win every single week is what does that usually come down to? Okay, it usually comes down to the coach and the culture in the locker room. And what we've really seen this year is really a lack of culture in the locker room. So you're not a team that has built something. You're not a team that has really even trended towards wins yet. So why in the world would you take this last week to try to turn it around and make, end on a win and end on a high note? You're essentially just looking for guys that you think you want to have here to be a part of whatever the next iteration of this team is and be a part of the next rebuild. So, when you have guys like Keon White in the locker room giving essentially non-answers when reporters are asking, do you believe in the coaching? Are you getting good coaching? It makes you scratch your head a little bit, especially when the coach is now on the hot seat. And it seems like he's kind of coaching for his job to the point where week 18, where you want to lose, he might view this as, okay, this is actually one of my last chances to showcase what I can do. I'm going to coach to win. I'm going to play our guys and show them, hey, I shouldn't be on this hot of a seat going into 2025. Or, hey, you shouldn't eject me and hire Mike Vrabel. I actually kind of think they should, especially if Josh McDaniels, comes with that package. Because if you can get Josh in here to work with young Drake May, I'd take him over AVP. Even though you've seen regressions when you've, changed a coordinator with a young QB, I think that Drake's progress is pretty independent of anything Alex Van Pelt has been doing. I think it's just come from within. And I think AVP, I said this before, but I think AVP is getting too much credit for Drake's development. And I think if you could get Josh in here and Mike Vrabel, a winning head coach with a lot of experience, the man who pretty much dismantled this dynasty in that wild card game versus the Titans, that's pretty much the end of it. Tom Brady's last throw was pick 6 against that man. And if you could get him in here, I just think it's kind of a better version of Gerard. And I think Gerard, doesn't really have that experience. And I think he's a little over his head right now. And clearly, after the season, some major change needs to happen. So that's where I'm at with that. And that's my Bills preview. I think we're going to see quite a bit, unfortunately, of Drake May. I just pray the kid doesn't get injured. I pray there's not some crazy streak where he gets hot and they leave him in and we end up winning. I hope this is just like go through the motions, run the offense. First 15 are scripted. You're going to run those, then we're going to see Joe Milton. So the last component of this Bills preview I want to talk about is players to watch pre-offseason. Now, these guys aren't necessarily on the hot seat or, on the roster bubble, but there are some players that you need to play in this game. Maybe Joe Milton's one of them. That's the Packer way of always drafting a QB and then shopping them. If you could get a little bit of interest behind Joe Milton, and you could have done this earlier in the season, it's probably too late to get any sort of interest now, but play the kid. And then also, speaking of other kids to play, Javon Baker should play every snap damn near at receiver this game. If you're unable to get this kid his first catch in a game that does not matter, and essentially the Bills are looking at like it's a preseason game, essentially it's a postseason game but like a preseason game. It's kind of weird. It's like a bye week for them. But if you can't get Javon Baker the ball his entire rookie season, that is just such a huge failure. I think you want to see Baker, Polk, and Douglas. I mean, you could keep Booty in there too, but I think that's the trio that needs to play this whole game, regardless of who's at quarterback, because I think that Baker is potentially going to be a fringe 53-man roster guy next year. I mean, he was a 4th-round pick. You're going to pick up another wide receiver in free agency, and you're going to draft one or maybe 2, Travis Hunter, and probably another one in a later round after you've addressed, hopefully, tackle and edge. But I will say that I think Baker has a really high ceiling, and I would really, really like to see him in this game. Even if it's not with Drake May, even if it's literally flashbacks to the preseason and we see the Milton to Baker connections going. I just think, to use Gerard's words, we're trying to evaluate who we want here and who we want to be a part of what's going to be building here. And I think Javon Baker, even over Jalen Polk, is that guy. I mean, you see Jalen Polk in the locker room. Reports of him wearing headphones, walking alone, being a total diva, feeling like he's the most hated person in the world, posting stories, always on the socials. It's just really unraveled for him. And I honestly think Polk is another guy going into this offseason that might be getting moved. I don't think he's going to get cut, but I think there's a chance that you send him away and try to get anything. You know, you'd swung on him with his second round pick. Maybe you could get a 3 and send him off, maybe a 4. I think there's other teams who look at his profile and think, okay, I can get something out of that guy. It didn't work out in New England. He needs a fresh start. But a guy like Javon Baker, I think just higher ceiling. You need to get him the ball. You need to put something on film with him. And third would be Caden Wallace. So Caden has been hurt pretty much all year and was supposed to be one of your main answers from the draft to address your offensive line. And this is an opportunity for him to show that he should be here in this group. And that guys, hopefully like Vidarian Lowe and Demontre Jacobs, should not. So I'd like to see him. I would like to see Layden Robinson. And I really want to see Cole Strange take a step at center. He had a pretty good game, honestly, for his first time snapping the football on an NFL field against the Chargers. One of the lone bright spots, potentially, besides, of course, when he didn't quite snap the ball. But, I mean, what can you expect from a guy who's played guard his whole life? But he is a really mobile guy. He's a pretty incredible athlete, extremely strong, which is why I think Bill took him first overall in the first round. So hopefully you can get something out of that guy there, because you've not gotten much from Cole Strange throughout his young career. So that's going to wrap up our Bills preview. Again, just to summarize, look to see anything from Drake May, sort of last glimpses before the season comes to a close. Look to see some Joe Milton, though. I think we're going to see quite a bit of him or Jacoby. You need to lose, mainly because the culture aspect of winning doesn't exist here. There's really nothing to play for. And then third, or maybe this is fourth, the players to watch. Pre-offseason, again, it was Javon Baker, probably a little bit of Jalen Polk, Caden Wallace, and Layden Robinson. Those are guys that I think actually could be a part of building a young foundation on offense here. And to shout one more out on defense, can we see a little more playmaking from Alex Austin? I've really always liked this kid. And he started to make some plays here. And specifically, late year versus the Bills, we've seen a few interceptions. So maybe he could be a guy who grabs a few more stats before the season comes to a close and earns himself, really locks himself down a roster spot going into 2025, especially with, Marcus Jones and hopefully Travis Hunter joining that cornerback room would be awesome. So that's going to do it for the Bills preview. We'll see you guys again in the next episode. Thank you all for joining. This has been the Patriots Pod.